Super Sunday continues here on Play Hearthstone after the most remarkable game I've seen in some time. But talking of remarkable games, Pavel played Casey the other day and made one or two pretty spectacular mistakes, I would say. I'm going to say it. He's a world champion. He deserves it to be said. But now he's got the same matchup again, almost card for card against Orange with some unusual cards in Orange's deck.
It makes you think that maybe Orange and Casey practiced together
And had the same idea.
Yeah, and knew that they were both playing the same person.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
People play together in Hearthstone. That's crazy.
How dare they practice?
Yes. Well,
Or you could be Kalento and just turn up and beat people every week for no reason.
Sure. I mean, so Orange is running this pretty wonky Bomb Warrior list that we're calling Fast Bomb Warrior. It's got Armor Smiths, Battle Rages, Improve Morales, Cruel Taskmaster.
That is a card.
The last time I saw that card being played competitively was in Raging Worgen OTK Warrior back in 2016.
Back when Charge was a thing that happened?
Back before Charge got nerfed. They've kind of been doing that like thematically as well, with no Charge minions being printed, only Rush.
It is now the worst flavor card in the game.
Really is, right?
1 mana Charge, give Rush.
It's actually worse than Rush, because you can't attack face no matter what.
Oh, you can't even... Yeah. Okay, anyway.
Anyways, so we're looking at Orange's deck list. So I've talked with Orange a bit about this. He says that the most important thing in this matchup is early tempo.
Okay.
This deck list sees or capitalizes on that a bit better. He says he has a Dire Mole Crackling Razor Maw, which is Eternium Rover into Cruel Taskmaster, which is nowhere close to Dire Mole Razor Maw.
Obviously he's nailed it.
Yes. But if you fudge the numbers a little bit and you don't really look too hard, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it really isn't.
It's really not. The other thing is Battle Rage can sometimes get value. We didn't really see it in Casey versus Pavel.
In fact, we saw him deliberately not drawing cards. Or actually we saw Orange doing that.
Oh, yeah, and Orange as well. And if we look at Pavel's deck, wow, that's just beautiful.
I don't know where he got the idea for this deck from.
This is just excellent. Everything about it is correct.
But it got destroyed by Casey.
Yikes. Must be terrible then.
Yeah.
Can't win a single game with this list.
Yeah, so in case people are wondering what the in-joke is there, obviously this is the deck that came second in Las Vegas.
Yes,
hands of Gallon here.
Yeah, so Pavel actually asked me before he had to submit, "Can I have your list, please?" And I said, "Sure, here you go."
Someone's going to have to introduce that kid to Google one of these days.
I think I had, put the work on other people sometimes.
Yeah.
I did suggest switching a Slam with a Super Collider, which he did choose
just to make it look like he hadn't copied your deck, at which point we then told the world that he'd copied your deck.
Yes.
Anyway, game number 1, Orange versus Pavel. Bomb versus bomb, but it's not your normal bomb, so it's absolutely fine.
Pavel picks up Blastmaster Boom. That's a good card to have.
I was going to say, there ends the commentary for that turn. And moving on.
Orange actually has a very difficult mulligan decision here, I think. He decides to keep the Wrench Caliber Acolyte of Pain. I think that in a normal Bomb Warrior, I wouldn't keep this way, but since he has stuff like Cruel Taskmaster, it makes a little bit more sense.
Also worth noting that Orange did say to us going into his first match that we'd like to see him make some really weird plays we don't agree with, but he obviously didn't get the hand that we wouldn't have agreed with because every play he made, at least Gallon thought was perfectly sensible. So hoping that Orange picks up whatever it is he was going to do that looks a bit weird.
Pavel also has an interesting decision here. He has 2 plays. He could go Town Crier or Hero Power. You might think that because you can just play Town Crier, it's a better choice, but I actually do like Hero Powering here. You set yourself up for Hero Power Town Crier the next turn. Ooh, Orange picks up Dr. Boom.
How tempting is it just to coin out your Acolyte though into this Town Crier?
Well, I mean, like look at how the game has panned out. Pavel deciding not to Hero Power there has actually cost him quite a bit.
Okay.
Orange is free to play this Acolyte of Pain. Pavel really has no way of clearing it effectively.
Job done.
Yeah.
So even in the early game here, I think that Pavel has made an error in judgment.
That took a while. So, interestingly as well, we talked about how Orange chose not to Battle Rage in his last game against the same deck.
Yes.
But that's because it was turn 16 or something, and it started heading down a fatigue route.
Yep.
I remember you said that you were saying to him you've got to try and Battle Rage for 2 or more if possible.
Yes.
That's a discussion you had, right?
Well, I think that when you draw cards early in this matchup, it's a lot better than drawing cards later. At a certain point when both players have kind of taken the control route where they have Dr. Boom online, they're in no danger of dying, and that's when fatigue really starts to matter. It can be super scary to draw cards because, remember, Pavel has an Archivist Elysiana in his deck. Orange does not. That means that Orange pretty much always loses in fatigue. However, if Orange managed to out-tempo Pavel, which is kind of his game plan, then drawing cards early is very good because you can draw all of your tools that are good in the matchup, maybe get a Blastmaster Boom down, and then just kill Pavel before fatigue really matters. I imagine you're grimacing because Pavel could go double Warpath.
No, I'm thinking how I'm using that. Obviously, I'm thinking how bad that would be because burning a card, and game 1 probably doesn't go to fatigue because Orange doesn't have a Lysiana main deck. The only way he goes to fatigue is if he manages to get it copied with his Azalina.
I really don't think Orange is that sad to see something like double Warpath on his Acolyte.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But the other ways of dealing with it are really rather awkward. You don't want to have to put your commander into a Acolyte of Pain. What an absolute waste of space. But he felt he needed to. And Orange is going to have the benefit of getting all these cards, and you basically worded it slightly differently, but it's the same thing, is you can now just curve out guaranteed anytime you want.
You're given the options instead of having to piece together a plan that is slightly suboptimal.
Yeah.
Fatigue really doesn't matter until you're in fatigue. Do you understand what I mean?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's no guarantee that this game gets even close to that.
And we've got the feeling, although we haven't seen this deck win yet, but we both have a feeling that this deck, it's called Fast Bomb Warrior. It's going to bomb you, and it's going to do it fast.
Based on the game plan that's happening right now, I think Orange is very far ahead. We're still in a tempo game. Pavel does not have Dr. Boom, so he cannot go the control route.
Yeah, Orange can curve out to 7 with any combination of things he wants to. He also has a great turn 8 with any combination of things he wants to.
Yes.
And we'll talk about 7s. They're 7.
Pavel has Pavel has a Harrison Jones. Syringe Caliber gets a slightly bit worse if he tries to go for the Blastmaster Boom. But like, even if that happens, Orange has quite a good answer to that. You know, trade your Acolyte, execute the Harrison Jones, play a Clockwork Goblin. There's 2 bombs in Pavel's deck. Blastmaster Boom is still insane. Even if that doesn't work, you can play Dr. Boom as the follow-up, and Pavel doesn't have it.
Yeah, and I think Pavel only has one thing on his side right now, and that is I picked Orange to make the playoffs. That's all that Pavel has got going for him in this game.
I remember you said you picked me at playoffs last year to win the entire thing.
Yeah, you spent all year hassling me. Why aren't you picking me? I'm like, well, what have you done? And then you put together a decent run of results.
Yep, last year. And the one time you finally say, all right, Gallon, I choose you as my champion. I went, I believe, 0-4?
You went 0-4.
And then I dropped.
And then I never picked you again. Then they forced me to work alongside you.
And the one time you didn't pick me, I actually had a pretty decent result there.
So there you go.
The Lorinda curse.
Carrying the extra weight is just so difficult. As you're finding at the caster desk as well, not only have you got to carry the predictions when I pick you, now you've got to carry me at the desk as well.
Yeah.
Must be tough. Nothing that $50,000 won't help you feel better about that.
I'm doing all right.
Talking about options, these turns are going to be difficult for Orange, not because they'll be bad turns, but because if you want to optimize these turns, there's so much going on.
It is very difficult to pick up a Wrench Caliber here.
But then you
have to move your mouse all the way to the left and then put it in play. And then you have to decide between killing an Acolyte or not killing an Acolyte.
You've wasted a mana point. You told me not to waste mana.
You always miss the one.
I don't know. I'm not happy with wasting mana. You tell me one thing and then you tell me...
waste mana there?
Clockwork Goblin Battle Rage, draw 2 cards.
Innervate Blastmaster Boom. Should have just drawn it. Pre-nerf Innervate Blastmaster Boom.
I know. You teach me one thing and then you break all of the rules by... I'd have done that if you hadn't told me to play all my mana every turn.
Orange really did a good job of not struggling with mousing over the Wrench Caliber card.
Orange takes a drink. So I've had this theory for a long time, and I've hassled way too many people about it, that the person who thinks they're going to win a game of Hearthstone is the one more likely to take a drink. Because they're the one who are relaxed enough to be thinking.
I never drink anything when I'm playing.
Really?
Yeah, I think every single time I'm on stream, someone will always come and be like, hey, do you want some water? And they'll just put it next to you. I've not once actually done that. So I guess I'm just very unconfident.
And very dehydrated, which is why you never get the final yard
Yes.
at the end of a long day.
Yes.
That explains a lot. Now I know what the problem is.
That's the one.
But yeah, generally the person who is... I mean, Orange is a bit of a different case because he makes a point of staying hydrated anyway. But in general, the person who's in front does tend to drink more than the person who's behind. It's completely irrelevant, but then we have quite a lot of turns ahead of us.
It is a decent talking point when you have nothing to talk about.
Don't tell them that. We've got loads to talk about. It's quite clear.
What I want to talk about here is what Orange decides to do. Like, he could equip the weapon again. But I'm thinking that you're playing ahead. Something like Omega Devastator seems quite decent. The problem is then, you know, your Blastmaster Boom doesn't get full value, but you already have minions in play, so is the full value off of Blastmaster Boom that necessary?
The important thing this turn for me, although even any bombs is dead, is not. I was going to say is you're playing with your opponent's Dr. Boom to Mag Genius. So you want to make it so that if your opponent plays Mad Genius, I think you want to go as big as possible now, so that you just absolutely tonk him in the face if he chooses to miss a turn by playing Mad Genius.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Even deciding to go face here, that signals to me that Orange is thinking about going Clockwork Goblin, Rich Caliber next turn.
Yes. And I mean, if Dr. Boom comes down, you do so much damage.
Yeah.
As it happens, the reason this discussion is awkward right now is we're imagining hands that Pavel hasn't got. But Orange doesn't know what Pavel has.
I mean, this just goes back to turn 2, not arming up. He gave Orange, you know, 2 or 3 extra cards off the Accolade of Paints.
Yeah, and that just snowballed out of sight. Wow.
Orange here kind of afforded a wealth of options, and they're all amazing.
Which of your 2 booms in this room do you play first?
I think from Orange's perspective, he's obviously considering going Blastmaster Boom here.
Yeah.
That's like the immediate first thing. But there is a world where you just start with Wrench Caliber Clockwork Goblin.
Yeah. I think all of your cards add up to 7. This makes this complicated.
It's complicated, but it's a good kind of complicated. You're trying to figure out how to maximize your tempo. You know, Orange is so far ahead that he's like kind of given the option to not even Blastmaster Boom here. He could take it slow if he really wanted to. Yeah,
and Orange, I try and sort of, I mean, all of the players in Grandmasters are obviously terrific at various things, but Orange's special skill is staying focused in situations where you're probably going to win whatever you do.
Yep.
Ball control's another one for that. Yep. Whatever you do in this turn, nothing bad happens to you.
I really like this patience from Orange. Deciding to kill the 1/1 instead. He wants to play around stuff like Snip Snap, just to avoid getting magnetized. Because that could actually be an issue for him.
Another thing is that one of the ways that you lose this is if Pavel draws his Dr. Boom Mad Genius. And it's the same argument almost every turn as it was last turn.
Well, wait a second, because Blastmaster Boom is probably higher tempo into specifically Dr. Boom.
But it's also wasteful.
I think this is a play that you make with the knowledge that they don't have Dr. Boom Mad Genius in hand.
Yeah, it's a middle ground play. You know that they can clear a board that you make because they've got to have something in their hand. Pavel's done nothing all game.
It's a calculated risk, and the calculation is, oh, he could have played Dr. Boom on turn 7. The risk is very low of that, so it's very unlikely that I get punished.
And now you've sucked a little bit of removal out of your opponent.
Yes.
Here he comes. Happy Boom.
There is a Harrison Jones in Pavel's deck. Orange just has to make the determination whether... There's a lot of little factors in determining whether you hit or not here. You know, Pavel could Harrison Jones it, but then what is he doing with the rest of his mana? But then if you don't do it, then yada, yada, yada.
I think on a more trivial level there, which isn't always right, obviously, just the extra bomb might do 5. In this exact situation is quite relevant because the boom bots are going to do a lot of damage. Another 5 is gigantic right now.
Another important thing to keep in mind is you get rid of some of the armor, so you know, Shield Slam becomes less of a possibility. 4.
7, 11, 12. Winner, above average.
For 5, isn't it slightly below average?
Yes.
It's 0.5 damage below the average.
But, yeah.
Yep.
Let the pain speak
Damn
to
it.
me.
Can't argue with the man
It's
who's
still
right.
a winner. Don't disagree with you there.
Another use of Cruel Taskmaster, if your opponent is on 1 health and you have a bot that can't get through a taunt, is to Cruel Taskmaster your own bomb. You could just run it into the taunt, but... Why would you do that?
Why are you like... You're cutting yourself off here, man.
I should have just left it at that
Yes,
and waited for
yes.
people to decide there might be a mistake here.
Exactly. Orange just doesn't even need to play Dr. Blue Man Genius here. Still seizing tempo. Pavel hasn't played his hero card yet. Bomb off the top. There's the boom. Another bomb off the top.
We've said that so many times today. That's Harrison.
I saw it was a 5-mana card and it looked,
It looked the same color
yes.
as the bomb off the top would
Yes.
have been.
I'm so glad.
Good hero power here would be Blast Shield.
Oh, looking for lethals for Orange's side. I mean, they're on the way.
He has a lethal here if Pavel rolls a bomb off the top, I believe.
Armor Smith. Why? Why? I'm gonna play this really aggressive deck and put my Armor Smiths in there.
I mean, I think it works pretty well with Battle Rage. Maybe you're using it for like an anti-aggro kind of stuff. Like, imagine versus Token Druid, it's probably quite good.
So we've cast this deck something like 5 games now. How many Battle Rages have we seen cast for more than 1?
Some of the cards in here seem very questionable, and I feel like Orange won this game off the back of his good cards.
In spite of having Battle Rages in his
Yes,
deck.
yes. The good cards in Bomb Warrior are very, very good.
Joking aside, I do like the whole... I don't know if I agree with it, but I like trying out the whole Cruel Taskmaster 1-drop thing.
Sure.
I'm so glad.
But some of the deck feels very contrived when it comes to Battle Rages and Armor Smiths. Armor Smiths not so much, it's not a bad Taskmaster target.
That's fair to say.
But Battle Rage, we've seen it be a hindrance where somebody wouldn't play it more often than we've seen them play it.
One thing that's probably going through Orange's mind right now is how to play this as Lena.
This takes some patience when your opponent's at 9, 4, -1.
All right, 2 bombs off the top.
It's bomb day.
Orange just knew that he didn't have to push the 4 damage there.
It's absolutely insane. Orange takes a 1-0 lead, and Fast Bomb Warrior fastly bombed the other warrior. Fairly. And that was to do with
Fairly fast.
drawing 6 cards in 3 turns.
What if we just call it fairly fast Bomb Warrior? Because it's not fast, but it's fairly fast.
Yeah, okay. Medium speed.
Medium speed Bomb Warrior.
I'm sure you can find some pretty good abbreviations of all that lot somewhere in there. 1-0. Is there much
Importantly-
to say apart from turn 1 from Pavel?
So does that operate in kilometers per hour
I
or
wouldn't
miles
know.
per hour?
I mean, I'm from the UK, you're from the USA. What's a kilometre? That's what I'm going with.
Maybe
It
they go
is
different
the
speed.
Europe region. We should
What's
probably
the
behave
speed
a
limit
little
on
bit.
Bomb Warrior? When do you get
Ah,
fined?
When you get fined, you find a lot of cards. You find them very fast.
We just got news Orange switched to his tertiary deck, adding an Archivist Elysiana plus 2 Omega Assemblies, cutting out Armor Smith, Warpath, and Azalina alongside a single Brawl.
I mean, you could do that before you started and have a better deck.
Yeah.
It's obviously a very meta-dependent thing. This is clearly the deck you want in a meta full of warriors, which this week happens to be in Europe. In America, it's rogues.
I think that I actually don't think it's that great versus Warrior. I think it's probably more suited to an aggro lineup. That's where like a bunch of the early additions will help. Probably stuff against stuff like Murloc Shaman, where you want to kill an underbelly angler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You go with this.
Yeah.
I think this is just a nicer looking deck
Yeah,
all around.
and we've been kind of joking about this, but you know it's probably worth trying out. Like this is an interesting list, and we haven't really played enough games to
Fibonacci
accurately
got
determine.
rank 5
Yeah.
legend with it, which is pretty good.
And remember, there is a QR code here, so if you're a viewer at home watching this and you want to try this out, recommend just pulling out your phone,
Scan
Copy
it in.
it. Yep, scanning it.
Get yourself a new deck. I'd recommend trying it with the primary just to see all that stuff, though.
Yep. Pavel is staying on his primary, his secondary, tertiary, both cut Archivist Elysiana. That is a card that you want.
Pavel not going with the same strategy I see as Yala, where I know full well, having watched his stream, all his trophies are behind that screen.
Ah, yeah. What if you,
including his World Championship.
What's the best way to do it?
You have to make it look like you didn't do it on purpose.
That's kind of how Yarla did it.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, there's actually a really funny story with the screens behind them.
Go on.
When they sent it to Swids,
This is
a European Grandmaster from France, they didn't actually announce what it was to him.
Okay.
He didn't even know that it was from Hearthstone. So he thought that like one of his neighbors had just randomly sent him a tent.
Yeah, or it was misdelivered or something.
Yeah, it was
like
like a misdelivered tent, and he couldn't. And it was clearly marked for him. So he's like, "Who is this sent to? It's not for me." So he actually set up a giveaway on Twitter for a free tent.
And did you see how it was worded as well? It was like this beautiful tent. It was really sort of embellished language.
Yeah. It was clearly used more than Google Translate, but it was super funny because people had to correct him. Swids, what are you doing?
But do you know the sort of twist?
No, I didn't.
He ended up buying somebody a tent.
Really?
He felt obliged because he's such a good guy that he actually bought a tent so that the
That's
giveaway
so funny.
would work. So he ended up buying a tent for no reason to give away to a Hearthstone Twitter following. He's like, well, my Hearthstone followers, I know how I'll get some more followers. Who wants a tent? It's like...
That's pretty ridiculous.
I
didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. That's as I understand it. I mean, that's only as I've heard secondhand, but as I understand it,
That's really cool.
he ended up paying out of his own pocket, which I think is really nice.
That is really
that
nice.
he bothered to stick with it. But all the language he used in describing the tent was like...
Just very flowery.
Because if I get something I don't
Very
want
embellished.
in the mail, I'm just going to say, someone sent me this garbage tent. Why do I want a tent? Who wants a garbage tent? But he was very excited about the tent.
What if you just did that for Twitter followers? You stole your neighbor's mail and just gave it away on Twitter.
Honestly, until the point where you get arrested,
It probably works
you
out
would
pretty well.
probably make a good YouTube
Yeah. Don't do that.
thing. But don't do that at home because you will get arrested, then I will get in trouble.
Not worth
And I don't
Twitter
care if
followers.
you get arrested, but I don't want to be arrested. And it's still turn 2. No matter how much we talk about tents, it's always turn 2.
It's always turn 2. Orange going face here is actually super interesting, I think.
Okay, so this is the first time we've had a chance to talk about the fact that Orange has done something we didn't expect.
Yes, I think that this is maybe the first time I've actually seen my game plan diverge from Orange. I think what he's saying is that armor doesn't matter for his deck as much.
Yep.
He's happy to trade 2 armor for himself for 1 damage for his opponent.
And that makes sense if you feel that you're the aggressor.
Sure.
And
I
it makes
still
even
think
more...
the ratio is very high that you consider it, but
He also has a very lovely curve right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sure.
That's also...
But that doesn't really affect your decision to trade or not.
Okay.
I mean, it can, but it's a very minor thing, I would say.
We should look at Pavel's hand a bit as well. We haven't been paying enough attention to the game, but he has got a very good curve of his own here.
Defend the gates.
They both don't really have the payoff cards right now. Improve morale.
Yeah, like you do.
That's actually a pretty decent pickup here. As weird as that sounds.
It sounds pretty strange. Yep, that's 4 followed by 5. And that's 1.
How much is the Accolade of Pain? I can't see the card.
It's 6 or 7.
Wait, it's 3.
Yeah,
Helping God there.
We'll see. When we get to turn 6 and he just dropped
No,
like,
I
that's
think
6 mana.
You can't Loatheb an Accolade of Pain, Lorinda.
No, because Loatheb's not in standard anymore.
Well, it's also not a spell. And first of all,
it's not in standard. It doesn't
Weaponize
matter what it
Pinata
does.
into Toki into Loatheb.
Okay, you got me.
Yep.
Just because I Chevalard'd you earlier in a warrior game with Warpath. Oh, we should have asked Boston about that, actually. Well, because he did do the third Warpath for no reason.
Yeah.
But you should.
You should have done the fourth as well.
Yeah, so actually that's definitely wrong then. Because either you should not waste mana or you should build up your Chevalard.
It's an interesting thing that
So
maybe
he
comes
made
up
sure-
maybe one in a million games.
Every time I say something comes up 1 in a million, it immediately happens. Like Boston winning game 2 against Ties.
1 in a million times, $1 billion falls in my lap right now. Wait, you have to say that.
Yeah, I don't like you that much. You wouldn't share.
I'd buy you lunch.
I did it last week. I go 1 in a billion times. Gallon wins 50 grand, and that fell in your lap.
Really, 1 in a billion. That was my odds.
Probably about that.
Okay.
Given that last time I said you'd do anything good, you went 0 and 4, and you could only afford to lose twice.
There were some people that made it at 9 and 3. Dog and Fino both made it at 9 and 3.
That's Dog and Fino.
That's true.
You might be playing against one of those regularly if things break your way in the next few months.
Maybe.
Yeah. I need to get my revenge.
We have obviously players trying to get and become Grandmasters in their own right through winning the most money in their region over the next 3 stops, Masters stops.
Yeah, there's a couple tournaments this year that are very important for people both in Grandmasters and not in Grandmasters. For the people in Grandmasters, it's a chance to really prove how good they are at the game. Huge prize pools. There's one that just happened in Las Vegas. There's one that's happening in August in Seoul, Korea. And the final one will be happening later in the year in Romania at Bucharest. At RDU's house.
In Bucharest.
That may be an embellishment. But for the people that are not in Grandmasters, it is a really good opportunity for them because the way you get into Grandmasters is actually through performances at these Master Tour stops. The highest 2 prize money earners over the entire year at these tour stops will be considered for the Grandmasters League when relegation starts to happen.
Also, it was worth noting that Kallax, who very narrowly missed out on being a European Grandmaster, also got a top 8
The
finish.
only 1-star master to actually not make Grandmasters.
Yeah, so if he can hold on to that placement, maybe get another one to go with it and just top it up, we could be seeing him. He'll be chomping at the bit. If Kallax gets in amongst this bunch of players, he will be terrifying because he will be raring to go.
Very strong French player.
Yeah.
Plays for Team Vitality, I want to say, alongside Swids.
Indeed.
Yep.
And it's now turn 6.
Awkward turn for Pavel. Really no answer to the Snip Snap. Shield block here technically answers it, but then you have to use so many of your resources. Oh, Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah, double boom.
Orange's hand, besides the Snip Snap in play right now, is kind of dead.
I like the way Orange frowned because he didn't draw something that with 7 in the top left corner there. It's like, yeah, I'm going to draw
Not
it.
exactly Dr. Boom. So unlucky. I actually think he was nodding. I think he was
acknowledging that he didn't draw something with 7 on it. This is the worst turn of the game in the mirror, isn't it? When you haven't played your boom and you passed your opponent's turn 7. Like, mentally, it's like, please don't, please don't, please don't. Oh, yeah. There it is.
The good one is when you play your Dr. Boom and then they do not have theirs.
Good time to drop the Acolyte.
Yeah, I think so, because you're making their 7-mana turn a lot more awkward. If they play Dr. Boom, then you get to not necessarily trade into the 2-1 because they could trade into your Snip Snap, but your Acolyte stays alive.
You're fine if they do that.
Yeah, and if they play Blastmaster Boom, the same thing occurs where you can trade into a Boom Bot.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So nice timing there for
No.
for the Acolyte. Told you about turn 7.
It's a good spot. Orange spotted it as well.
Maybe.
Oh.
I'm so
Have to imagine Pavel considers trading his
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Militia Commander into the 4/6.
It's pointing the right direction.
He's definitely considering it.
The actual image on the card is telling you what to do.
It's pointing to the Acolyte of Pain.
Oh yeah. Well, you know,
Do you not know left and right?
sometimes. About half the time.
I thought we were going west.
He sorted it.
That's actually a pretty good hero power for this exact spot that Pavel's in, I think.
Well,
Oh, this is where the battle rage is actually going to be.
the first time we have seen this this
I think
combination
that's the
of
second
things.
one. That's exciting.
It actually is. Now we've seen why it's in there and how it works. Well, we knew why it was in there and how it works, but now we've actually seen it do it. But you've still got this nagging feeling that you don't want to get too far behind in fatigue, although maybe you just don't care now and you just keep.
I think with orange, you just don't have either of your booms here. I think that going another battle rage makes a lot of sense.
Comes. Cool Taskmaster, draw a card, hit your opponent for 3.
Still don't have your booms.
Oh, all sorts of things are happening.
Everyone has demons.
So many cards. And we just haven't seen the deck do this in the first few times we've seen it here at the Grandmasters. I assume that Fibonacci has done it many times.
Yeah, this is where the power level of that combination of cards that Orange added to his deck really shows off. When you have multiple minions and you are damaged, Battle Rage just becomes an amazing card.
I mean, that has just swung the game.
Arcane Intellect is a card that we see that's very playable in Mage. It's one of the good cards in that deck. That was a 2 mana, draw an extra card. That was a 2 mana Nourish right there.
I look at the board at the end of it. Okay, it's not like a
In fact,
thriller.
Nourish was nerfed
Oh, here we go.
for 5 mana draw
This would
3.
be a good
No
time
other
for a
reason.
master
I mean, they
plan.
didn't want it being too much like.
They just thought that 5 mana draw 3 was just way too powerful.
Yeah. Or 7 mana draw 2. And make it 5/5.
There's no other reason.
Can't think of any.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
It would. This
I love that.
board that just
Not
came
fun.
from nowhere.
Not fun.
Not fun, but also
I think we're leaving. I think Pavel probably leaves the Snip Zap up for another turn here.
I still like to be on the side of the person who has both booms. It looks like he's going to try and clear
Okay, I
this
mean,
because he's got the hero
yeah,
power
yeah,
to deal
yeah.
with it.
So this does seem very responsible. Gets the attack in.
So this is Dr. Boom.
That's good.
Thanks, Pavel.
That's the one that he
It was-
wanted.
yeah,
That's what he spent, 7 draws searching for.
Who's winning the card back game here?
What now?
Well, if you set yourself up as Golden Celebration, you would think you're putting yourself as the best player. But if your opponent's the world champion and
Yes.
they're just using a base,
They have the
card,
Golden Celebration and decide to just...
they don't need to use it. It's like people who make Legend and they use the Legend card back. Usually means they don't make Legend very often.
What card back do you use right now?
I use the... I should know the name of it, and I don't. The red one for attending esports events.
Thrill of Victory, I
That
want to
one,
say.
Indeed, yes.
I think I still have the Hakar one because someone just gave it,
I had it for a very long time.
and I just never really bothered switching it.
Yeah. I've always liked the Tespa one. I
Dalaran
think that's-
Flame.
the Dalaran Flame is the
Yep.
best looking card back of all, I think.
It's nice. I used the Lemonade one pretty recently.
That's nice. And the cupcake.
It's also kind of like glary.
I used the, I think it was 2014 October, the purpley pumpkiny one for a very long time.
Not Naxxramas. It is. I think it's just like hollow.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Hollow. Not. What's the word for it? Hollow's End. Hollow's
Yes.
End. Yeah.
You're good at this card back game. I wish I hadn't started now.
Well, there's this whole game called World of Warcraft where a lot
Right.
of the card backs are based off of.
I
And I
see.
may have spent lots of my childhood playing that game.
We didn't have
Okay,
games in my childhood. We had like Monopoly.
You had to play Monopoly uphill in the snow both ways.
Right. Using pieces of paper instead of notes. And IOUs. And we had to use a real dog instead of a metal one. And tell it to move on squares
And a real
that
cheap
we'd
grip.
carved in the snow.
Yeah.
And it's turn 9.
You keep bringing that up.
I'm just letting you know how much we managed to fill. And so it's gone 2, 6, 9. We get in there. At least the game has leapt into life in the last few turns with Orange drawing all those cards, Pavel being first to the Boom Twins.
I think what hurt Orange this game is the fact that he had to dig so far into his deck.
Yes. You were past tempting that. Do you feel that he's in a lot of trouble? That, like when you pass tense somebody like that, it tends to mean you think they're going to lose?
I only pass tense that because it makes a lot of sense, but you also risk your opponent just naturally having the Dr. Boom and the Blastmaster Boom. Going quickly gets worse if your opponent gets out of the mid-game, which Pavel has successfully done, especially if they have the Dr. Boom.
So Orange is going to have to take a chance on Elysiana fairly early. Well, I mean, he might have to
fairly early.
He might run out of cards in deck.
Yes.
Which to me means he really needs to start getting cards out of his hand.
I'm going to just say something. I think that Orange not going face here with his weapon may be a slight error.
Okay.
I think that the damage ratio of pushing 3 makes more sense. You also run into a spot where maybe you could, the Boombot doesn't die. You play a minion and then you soak the damage from it anyways. So you actually end up like pushing more and taking less.
And that's interesting because
oh, this is a good draw.
At the start of the game, he was more than happy to take that ratio.
Sure.
And not much has changed except he's got into more trouble. So
Yes.
in his opinion, what has changed is he is ahead.
Or Pavel's ahead.
So yes.
Yes. Generally when you make trades in this matchup, you're behind.
Master plan.
This is interesting because
Yeah, playing your highest tempo card.
yeah,
Sense.
just means you're scared of the opposing bomb. Because you can't execute it.
Orange has to make a decision here with his weapon. Taking 5 is very scary.
You've come this far, I think you have to carry on. You've got cool Taskmaster at the end if it comes to it.
Or just your hero power.
Or just your hero.
Wow.
That bomb did
That was about
work.
as bad. That was about as bad as Orange could have.
Yeah, the 5-9 bomb did a lot of work. That being said, we're saying that it's bad, and it was. Orange isn't a too bad a spot.
Orange is in a terrible spot.
In the immediate future, I agree, but there's definitely
In
enough
the
there to get
far
out of it.
future as well, he's 9 behind-ish, minus the bombs. In
You think they
fatigue.
get to fatigue?
Yes.
Like, I mean, you think you get into fatigue properly?
Or Orange just dies. One of the two.
It's interesting that Elysiana is not deemed enough to get you out of a fatigue war.
Not when your opponent also has Elysiana.
Sure, because the idea you're conveying is that they offset.
Yes.
But
Okay,
from
then.
what I've seen, there's a heck of a lot of variance in those Elysianas, and one tends to just beat the other. Depending how you get there, because you might have a handful of removal from not being pressured enough in the game, which currently Pavel is sitting.
I think Orange will need to have a very powerful Elysiana to actually beat Pavel's Elysiana as well. Or the opposite, Pavel will need to have an incredibly weak Elysiana. That's an important pickup. Maybe not for this turn, but in the future we will need that.
Orange can also start setting up just Grom lethals.
He's got 12 bursts from hand. The only problem is Pavel does have Ziliax, and it will take a while for that to pan out. Remember, Pavel's at 25 right now. There are bombs in his deck.
There
This
needs
would
to
be
be.
a good time for a master plan.
And we have seen some fair...
Maybe orange isn't in as bad as a spot as I suggested.
I mean, he will lose. If it goes to fatigue, he will
Yes.
lose. But I'm not sure that the health totals are conducive to that. They've also both used a lot of removal. Pavel has got some left, though. Pavel might just be planning to weather the storm on Elysiana and win it in fatigue. He may have a good enough hand for that.
Could something like Cairn execute hero power ever fit here?
Yes. I think any play that involves putting Cairn down can't be too bad. So orange is on the board presence plan here. I get the feeling he's not comfortable with that turn. Sometimes you just have to make a play that isn't too bad so you don't make a bad one in those rope situations.
Sure.
This was a very safe, often very rarely going to cost you the game sort of play.
Based on how the match was panning out, I think that it was maybe a little bit too safe.
I felt the same, that's why I sort of worded it how I did.
Yeah.
Just as a rope play though. I think you want
It wasn't
Cairn-
bad. It wasn't bad. He killed a minion. He played something big.
Yeah, you're not going to have a disaster coming back at you next turn. But I want to get this Cairn into play because it's really hard to deal with.
It's not even about the Cairn. It's more about just being able to push 3 face. Over time, that's going to add up to the point where actually being able to...
If you take 12 off your opponent's health total, Pavel's not doing very well.
I just want to point out something. Pavel sequences actually impeccably.
Okay.
Like he could have gone 2-3 and a 4-6, but instead he decides to just play the first Nim Snap, trade in, and then magnetize onto the microbot.
Right.
And that is, how do I word it? It's so minor. It's such a minute detail, but it's also, it just shows that Pavel is focusing a lot during this game.
This is what, the point I was trying to make yesterday, or 2 days ago when Pavel played, and I was saying he looks more focused, and then he immediately makes a pretty grim play for his standard of play.
Then.
When Pavel, that's a play I almost never make. When he just makes,
Yes.
that shows how good he is at Hearthstone.
It's something I think I would have missed.
And he will slowly but surely start. The other things are mechanical mistakes. He knows that if he plays a Dynamatic and he has a minion, it hits your own minion, it's
Sure.
not a mech.
Sure.
That's just purely mechanical practice thinking. The actual skill level and logic is still there.
I feel like I've been pretty harsh on Pavel this weekend.
I think you
and-
deserve to be harsh on Pavel this weekend.
But if he does stuff like that,
yeah, exactly.
he's making me eat my words pretty much.
I mean, there's the two sides of how Pavel's playing.
Yeah.
There's the World Championship skill level that is obviously
This
still
would be a good
hidden
time
in
for a
there.
master plan.
And there is the rust, because he didn't play much in 2018, that he's slowly but surely shaking off.
Yes.
And we will be seeing him again in Season 2. And if he hasn't shaken off the rust by then, I fully anticipate some of the harsher casters, Sottle,
And Sottle.
with Admirable stirring the pot,
Yeah.
to just not be as complimentary as we have been.
Unity. Precision.
I really like when I see people make just very tiny improvements on a good play.
Yeah.
That was a very tiny improvement on a good play, and it just shows you that, like, even with the smallest stuff, they're actually trying to get every edge out of the game that they can.
Yeah, I remember you messaging me as these bombs get relevant some time ago, saying sort of, can you spot the good play here? Let's do a test.
That was.
And I couldn't spot the good play, even though I knew there was a good play there.
This is a throwback to, I want to say, DreamHack Atlanta next year.
Next
And
year.
DreamHack Atlanta
Last
year.
year.
Last year,
I can't tell you next year's plays.
I also cannot. That was a what's the word for it? Just an error in speech. But it kind of goes back to, like, how important the small things matter.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember the exact situation so I can elaborate more on it.
I can't remember the exact situation.
It was whether it was how you trade certain minions. There was a Dire Mole and an Argent Squire in play.
Yep.
And one of the players had the choice to trade either the Argent Squire with their 1/1 or the Dire Mole. And the level 1 obvious play is, oh, I'm going to kill the Divine Shield because You know, why would I ever trade a Dire Mole that's at 1 attack and 3 health and an Argent Squire that has a Divine Shield? And there was some sequence where if you would hit the Dire Mole instead of the Argent Squire, it makes Void Ripper suddenly a million times worse.
Yes.
It was very complicated.
It was very complicated. You had to know the meta sort of play, but I knew the meta, and when you explained it, it was something I understood. But looking at it, it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's he talking about? And it was interesting to see exactly how those high-level plays work.
I'm sure the people watching are also, I don't know what he's talking
Yeah, well,
about.
we've described a maybe something happened situation.
Probably less than 1,000 people have seen that game, and they probably don't remember it.
Yeah. I cast it, and I didn't remember it. But then I don't remember much at all.
It was some top 8 in DreamHack Atlanta last year.
Okay, then.
That was a good little interaction.
What, our bad casting there, where we talk about something nobody's ever seen?
Yes.
Or the interaction between the cards?
The interaction between the cards. I mean, it does tie back to what Pavel's did here. And I think that Pavel's decision matters less in the grand scheme of things. But every single time you have the opportunity to make even, you know, a 1% better play, taking it is going to be better.
Yeah, I just like the reminder that Pavel's really good at casting.
Yeah.
And even here, I was waiting for him to mechanically mess this turn up and end up with no 1-1 at the end and use the 5th. Use the 5th Warpath. Because he's far more likely to make a mistake that is trivial than one that is important somehow. Like, he makes important mistakes. I mean, the mistakes he makes are almost beginner-level mistakes.
It was like, Archivist Lysiana is in a mech.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Mistakes that make the people watching at home wonder what's going on. And then he'll make a really amazing nuanced play that those people will never make in their lives.
Yeah. I mean, the play that he made this game was something that I probably wouldn't have spotted.
You don't say that sort of thing lightly. You're quite
no,
modest man, but you're not scared of your own ability.
Yes, I think that Pavel noticed something that I didn't, and you know, ends up not mattering. But in a lot of games, it could.
Too many bombs.
Also, not enough time. One thing that happens in the Bomb Warrior Mirror is if someone gets low, they can never...
Pick one orange.
Yes, he's waiting way too long. Gruul is obviously the pick here. No, it's not.
Just pick things.
He takes Overlord's Whip instead of Gruul.
Pick things.
Braum.
Pick things.
Sightless Ranger.
Pick.
I don't have time.
Bang.
There was a Tasty Fin.
You might have got it. No, he did actually get to...
Why did he...
Weaponsmith.
I do wonder about the Overlord's Whip instead of the Gruul. He must be thinking about something that's just very... I guess you could play it with Grom, but doesn't Cruel Taskmaster already activate that?
Huh.
Nope.
I think it was one of those... You described a situation the other day about people spending too long on decisions sometimes. He had 4 more key decisions to make after that.
Yes.
And he was thinking about some fringe interaction.
Yeah. We were specifically talking about a game played 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yes.
Where a player was deciding between Chef Nomi or Tess Greymane off of a Xerog's Crown from King Togwaggle. That is the treasure that says discover legendary, summon 2 copies of them.
And they've still got a lot of things to do.
He had 7 mana left and 15 more choices to make.
Yeah.
He hadn't played, you know, an Evil Miscreant yet, so he didn't know what lackeys he was going to get. And he spends the first 60 seconds of his turn saying, do I take the 6/6 or do I take the 6/6?
Because one time in a big number that I want to make up,
it matters.
You shadow step one of those cards, and Chef Nomi does one thing,
and you know, there is an optimal choice.
But it didn't matter.
But it didn't matter
because it's a 6/6.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, this game we should probably pay some attention to because it's been going on for a long time.
It's getting close.
Justice, and somebody might win it.
There's another Grom in Orange's hand right now. There's another Grom in his deck.
Yeah, and getting very close to lethal damage. We're getting very close to dying. This is actually going to be...
It's close, man.
A shootout at the end, or bomb out.
This would be a good time
sort
for
of like me at school.
Plan.
Just bombed out completely.
Grom here does seem a little bit too... Eternium Rover, wow, that is good.
seems...
Security Rover is also quite good.
I think with the hand he has, and the fact there's not much time left, a turning rover is better because you get to play more things.
And you get to play Beryllium Nullifier alongside it.
Yeah.
That's strong. Pavel does not really have an answer in his hand right now. You'd be looking at Omega Devastator. Shield Slam cannot target it, even though he has 2 in his hand right now.
And as it stands, if this minion stays on the board and no taunt is play, Orange has Taskmaster Grom lethal next turn. Except there's a blast. However, Pavel, in his first match of the week, was offered the blast shield like 4 times.
And didn't take it a single time.
Yeah.
It was like 28 armor. If he takes the blast shield here, he is still alive.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yes. but, hear me out.
I'm hearing
You could go Archivist Elysiana.
Okay.
And trade in your Eternium Robe.
Sure.
You stay alive at... He goes from 16 to 11. 11 to -1 with the Grom, and then 2-1 with the Eternium Rover.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
He's going for bombs.
Going for lethal. I don't blame him.
Yeah, killing your opponent is a very good way to stop them from killing you, as we saw earlier in the Boston Ties first game.
Orange, if he doesn't die here, can just gain a multitude of life with Warpath. Cool Taskmaster.
He kind of needs to as well. This is really... This has gone from what's your long-term strategy like to can you count a lot of numbers very quickly and not make a mistake?
There's so many things that you have to think about right now.
You have to first of all think about what you lose to.
Bombs. Number of bombs in both players' decks. That's important. Number of armor that you're generating off the Eternium Rover for both players.
Number of turns you win.
Does Acolyte drawing extra cards for your opponent mean that they're more likely to die from the bomb? You know, is Grom Warpath suddenly lethal because you could Warpath into a bomb, hit them in the face?
Yeah.
What does that do with Eternium Rover, though? Because you're also Warpathing the Eternium Rover.
What does it do to your clock? What does it do to their clock?
Exactly.
Are there any breakpoints?
There's just so
one
many
extra
things.
damage is 1 extra turn, but 4 extra damage might be no extra turns.
Okay, then.
And now you're roping with 10 mana, and you haven't done anything. Oh, and you're trying to make him draw a bomb. I don't know what he's going to make this.
There's so many animations.
So much going on. I think Orange just pressed so many buttons there. I saw all sorts of things flicker. I think he's got the turn done. He doesn't have the look of somebody... No, he does have that look.
There's 3 animations that are happening with each Warpath.
This is being about
He
Patriot
didn't.
Warrior.
He didn't get it.
He didn't get the last Warpath. But he's getting the bombs.
Pavel is given the opportunity to get a Magnetize for his Eternium Rover. That's actually so important here. That's critical. Orange also missed 2 extra armor because he did not Warpath his Eternium Rover a 4th time.
Yep.
War Gear suddenly deals tons of damage.
War Gear.
Double Clockwork Goblin.
Yeah, Orange is running out of cards for the 2nd time. So
Could
damage.
you even consider something like a Security Rover to play around Gromash here?
I mean, you know it's there.
Yes. You don't know about the 2nd one, but you know about the 1st.
You know it's very there.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Does this get you just closer to bombs?
What? There's a bomb. He's on 2. Callan's face when people are having trouble with Bomb Warrior is like the best thing.
Well, I don't even
Everybody
know.
should be able to see this by now.
Can Orange get through somehow?
Yeah, you use Grom to hit the 2/3, and then you play the other Grom, and you have -6 mana.
What I'm saying is
Can he get
that
through
if
now?
he gets a Shield Slam, he gets through.
Sure. What if he
Bomb
gets
off the top.
bombs?
Another Grom.
Groms and bombs. I think you just play a Grom, kill the 2/3, and
I would recommend going militia here if I was in
Sure.
Orange's spot, because you need to deal with the, or even this, sure, because now
Yeah.
you actually clear the taunt as well, so this is just slightly better sequencing. You're not going to kill your opponent over one. You don't have it guaranteed here, so you should just armor up.
yeah, this looks so good.
This is so tense.
The blast shield making a huge difference as well, giving him a bit of time should anything go wrong.
Almost out of cards.
Pavel has one opportunity here to win the game.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get his Lysiana down either because Orange has
No.
always got the board.
And that goes back to Orange playing Elysiana with 3 cards still left in his deck.
Yes.
He found a proper time to actually make use of that card. If he waited another turn, Pavel would have developed into the board. Orange was at 12 or a very low life total, would not have been able to play the Elysiana, which pushes him even closer to fatigue because he has to wait another turn. Means that Pavel could shovel more bombs into Orange's deck. Orange cannot play Elysiana and he loses. That's not what happened this game. Orange found the exact right spot to play his Elysiana.
Yeah. And it's good that you know that, despite the fact we spent 45 minutes talking about everything but this game.
Yes.
But we're here when it matters for you. The business end.
Just a small break point is going to save Orange a lot of percentage here. 16 versus 15 means that there are 4 bombs required to win instead of 3. The likelihood of that becomes a lot lower.
I don't know the likelihood of anything after that tie
1.
Boston game.
Not 2. Orange will take this series 2-0 in a pretty nail-biter finish.
Yeah, we've had some pretty exciting matches today so far. We're only halfway through. Massive win for Orange. He is in that sort of position where he needs wins. They all need wins because we're so close to the playoffs. It's so close together in the middle of the division. And that'll take, I believe, Orange up to 5-5, I think. I'll double check that in a moment.
I was saying that Orange was going to be pretty far behind that game if it got to fatigue, and that's really not what ended up happening. We saw a spot where, you know, one of the players couldn't even develop the Elysiana, and he just died.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's kind of what Orange's deck wants to do.
all those cards he drew with the Battle Rage in the middle there shows how the deck functions. He was a long way behind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a swing turn in the traditional sense where you just suddenly have a bunch of 7/7s appear from nowhere.
Sure.
But in the same turn, he grabbed the board and grabbed card advantage, and everything started to change. It got him to the boom that was a long way down his deck.
He drew 6, which if it was like a normal control mirror, that would be terrible. But since he has an Elysiana, so fatigue doesn't matter for quite a while.
Yeah.
And both players are trying to do a proactive control game plan where they're actually playing minions and trying to kill their opponent, controlling the face.
Just going to cut you off for a second. We've got the man himself here. We've got Orange ready for an interview. Orange, you were saying that you might see, we might see you make some weird plays with that deck. We didn't think there were too many, so talk us through which ones you thought would be unusual.
Well, when I've been playing regular Bomb Warrior, I don't think, like, tempo is good, but you also have to be somewhat resourceful. When playing this deck, it felt like I just went for way more aggressive lines. For example, in game 2, you saw me keep Omega Devastator in my opener, together with a hand that goes with it. I don't think that's something you do in a traditional Bomb Warrior mirror, which a lot of people see this as, but you have to be, like, a lot more aggressive with this list to capitalize on Grom and stuff. So.
Yeah, we noticed you trading like 1 damage for 1 damage even in game 2 with your security, with your 1/3 versus his 1/2. Just it's going to hit you in the face.
Well, that particular play was because I wanted to set up my own acolyte. So if Pavel doesn't trade into my turn rower, I kind of call it the noob mistake, which is if you just leave the Town Crier on board, I couldn't kill off my own rower because it's 3 health, so 2 hits in it and it's still 1 health. But he can kill off his own Town Crier by attacking first at my turn rower. Then if I were to play Acolyte, I can just attack it in again. That way I won't get cards from Acolyte. Now I didn't play the Acolyte anyway, but well.
No, but it's always nice to hear, especially for people at home, those even from turn 1, things that can go wrong, things that can go right.
Yeah.
Have you got anything?
Go ahead.
Sorry
about that.
It's my bad. I think that just like him playing Town Crier on 2 just immediately lost him the entire game 1. I mean, my hand was pretty good to begin with, but me getting like that max value from Acolyte. I was just like, as soon as I got the first card, I was sure the game was over.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we were actually talking about that on broadcast about how hero power versus Town Crier on turn 2 actually impacts the game in a lot of the ways. Speaking about traditional, and you say that people think of this as a traditional Bomb Warrior mirror, I think it's anything but. How did you come to the conclusion of Battle Cry? Like, how did you find this deck and decide, hey, this is what I want to play?
This is a story, Gallon. I did not decide on this deck at all by myself whatsoever. So we were in Las Vegas last weekend, and I flew home on Wednesday because I wanted to spend some time with friends. We did some practice there, and everyone else decided on their deck in Vegas. But for me, like, my situation was kind of complicated, and I didn't know what I wanted to bring. So I figured that I'd do the last testing on the plane on my way to Sweden, which isn't the most consistent plan, but they promised like that there would be good Wi-Fi, and even if I couldn't play Hearthstone, I would still be able to talk with friends. It turns out that the router had broke on the plane, so I landed in Sweden with 10 minutes left to deck submission, and I didn't have any codes, and I couldn't really open Hearthstone either. So in front of me, I had Discord messages from Boar Control and Casey with codes from their testing, and I thought that Boar was playing Mage, and I thought that would be targeted. So I barely even knew what I submitted. I just like put my trust in Casey, and I was very upset that day. Like, that's not how I want to do it. Like, I wanted to test things myself and like come up with something, but that was the situation I was in, and I couldn't be late with deck submission because I'm pretty sure you get like penalized by quite a lot from that. So yeah, there you have it, the genius idea behind the deck.
Well, congratulations of getting yourself right back into that playoff picture, and hope to see more of you soon. So, and hopefully with some more stable stories, just one time.
Yeah, for next week I'll practice. I even have a deck cooked up that I think I'm gonna bring next week.
Cool. Take care. Orange there with the mind games. He already knows what he's playing next week. But the reason I'm half in hysterics through that story is because if you heard the words read out by somebody else during that story, you would 100% know you were talking about Orange.
Yes, Orange is the kind of running joke right now in Hearthstone is that if Orange has a flight, he's going to miss it.
Yeah, he missed 2 in a day one time this year. He missed it, then he missed the replacement flight as well. So the time he actually gets onto a plane correctly, obviously all the Wi-Fi and the rotor breaks. Whew.
I mean, I just want to point out another thing from that game. Orange talked about how Pavel playing the Town Crier on turn 2 over hero powering. He said it instantly cost him the game. And even though the game went on for, a couple dozen more turns after that, you can see how the early game impacts the late game so much, because it just determines how you approach the matchup. If you're ahead, you can keep that lead. If you're behind, you're staying behind.
Also shows how much people have playtested that matchup. We are halfway through Super Sunday here in Europe, and next up is RDU, which is Gallon's prediction to be the big shock of the day. Can he overturn Casey? We'll find out in 3 minutes.